Ladies and gentlemen, this is a special edition of the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. It's now Too Many Guys at the Movies. And ironically enough, we're not going to be talking about a movie. We're going to be talking about a little bit of a series. With me, Bayern Rob, that's my name. With me is Coach G. Cisco. And
get it? Anyone?
Yeah, I am Bayern Rob Ebert. And we have Coach Matt. So Coach Matt is one of the resident Manchester United supporters here. So he has opinions on the documentary that we watched for the special edition. Because there's not too much football going on. There's a lot of women's football, by the way, going on. But from the men's side of things, which is what we mostly cover, there hasn't been too much going on. So we decided to go to the movies, put on the streaming, and channel through some episodes of this wonderful documentary. Not really that wonderful, but it's gotten a lot of attention. The documentary is the Pogmentary. Now, it's a play on the word documentary because it is probably produced by, written by, funded by the one and the only Paul Pogba of free agent Paul Pogba now, I think. Coach G, as a fan of the Italian national team, Serie A, I would love to know, before we talk about the documentary, I would love to get your opinions about the player and the person, Paul Pogba, before you watched the documentary. What were your opinions on him?
And to be honest, my favorite team in Serie A is Juventus. So it just kind of right up my alley. I loved his style on Juve. It seemed like he fit perfectly well right there. He was scoring goals, assisting. He was everything that he is supposed to be, especially on the French the national team. You see how well he plays there. He plays exactly the same kind of style, freestyle, shoots 30, 25 yards out, pretty much accuracy. But then he goes on to Man U, and it's a completely different story. So on the Juve, it was kind of like, why would you kind of risk while your career is going up? You're having great success, and now you can take a chance going back home. And, we'll talk about that, blah, blah, blah. But it just seemed kind of like, now seeing it now, a couple of years after him on Man U, it's like, dude, you should have stayed on Juve, man. You should have stayed there. You could have done so much more, kept your career, and maybe not some of these injuries that, kind of took him off his kind of, his path of greatness for the Man United squad. So,
it's interesting that you mentioned, the success he had at Juve, because the rumor is that he's going back on a free. So Juventus made a buttload of cash on Paul Pogba, and now they're going to get him back.
Yeah. But let's see what happens. Let's see if his kind of career, I guess, restarts, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, the rumor that he's going back, I wouldn't say home, but he's going back where his career really took off, where in the Pogmentary, he goes, at Man United, I was a boy. At Juve, I was a man, or I became a man, or something like that. But you can even tell right there, even that kind of shitty statement that I just said, you can just tell even when he said it, goes, yeah, I became a better athlete, became a better soccer player. And this, again, going to back to Man U, seemed like his career kind of fluttered, or if not kind of declined. So I would love to hear Coach Matt's perspective on from Juve back to home.
Yeah. Coach Matt, you've lived and died with the recent career of Paul Pogba, and he has done great things. He's a marvelous athlete. He's won a World Cup. But we all know the game is tricky with players. There's only certain players that are special enough to be great on club and country. We definitely know Paul Pogba is great for country. He has the greatest title trophy in the land to prove it. But you watching him week in and week out through multiple competitions, before this documentary, what was your opinion on Paul Pogba?
Paul Pogba is, I mean, you can even see it just in the documentary. He just like has this grandiose vision of himself, of like what he is, what he wants to be, but he's just not necessarily that player. And I think like, I mean, I don't know about you, but like when I was playing, I'm still playing, but like I had this vision of like the type of player that I am, and it's not always in line how like other people see me or what I actually may be. That happens a lot with like different players. You know, they think that they're one way, but they're in reality their actual strengths or what they really bring to the team or something different. Paul Pogba came back to be the man at United. Like, you know, pardon the pun, but like he really wanted to be Eric Cantona. Like he wanted to be that guy that, you know, after, you know, Ferguson left, you know, we had a little bit of we had a downturn. Obviously, we're still going through that downturn and various cycles over and over again, but he wanted to be that guy to like lift us up. And on top of it too, it's like I kind of had a chuckle of, you know, I don't know if you saw, but it really wasn't discreet how they tried to say, oh, United brought him in and like they were supposed to build a team around him, but they didn't really do that. And it seems like they just brought him in for marketing. And it's like, bro, like you came like 100% on the marketing. Like that's why you came. Like it was all a part of it. And they did try to build the team around you. There was like for 3 straight years, it was, we got to release Pogba. We have to free up Pogba. Pogba's getting too bogged down in the center midfield. And yet when he came over, he wanted to be like this deep lying playmaking CDM, AKA like Pirlo was for Juventus back in the day. People forget at Juve, they had like a stacked midfield. Like they played 4 center midfielders in a diamond. They had Marquisio, they had Vidal, and they had Pirlo, all with Pogba, they all took away like 90% of his defensive, you know, responsibility. So Pogba could just basically be out kind of on the left center midfield and do what he did. So yeah, like he was a human highlight reel, but it was because he was supported by 3 other like hardworking center midfielders. Like he had this idea of what he wanted to be, and I do believe he learned a lot about becoming a professional and how to become like a man in the game at Juventus. I don't think he realized though, like how much weight like his supporting cast was pulling to support him and to allow him to showcase his offensive side of the game, which we all know is amazing. And then that's the whole argument is this guy, you know, we could be losing a game 2-1 or whatnot, but he'll do a move and like, you know, at least as a United fan, you would know for like, you know, for 3 years of watching him, you're like, that's going to be on the YouTube highlight video. But like, you go back and you realize, oh yeah, we lost to Southampton 2-1 in that game. Or like, oh yeah, actually right after that, you know, we lost the ball and, you know, they ended up scoring. You know, it's just like stuff like that. He's not in my opinion, he's just not a complete player. It's the same thing with France. Like, yes, he's won he's won the World Cup with them. But let's be honest, man, we all know who pulls the string in that midfield is Conte. Like that's when they're successful. And since Conte's been hurt and hasn't been able to play as well with France hasn't been playing well. And, you know, they're just not, Pogba's not the player that he thinks he is at the end of the day.
No, yeah. And, you know, so you make great points. And I have a soft spot for when like the prodigal son returns. Mm-hmm. And when Paul Pogba came back to United, it's like, okay, you know what? Like United learned their lesson. Is one of their players who they brought in from France, you know, at 16 or whatever, how old he was. He was in a host family and he played a little bit under Ferguson and then like simply just couldn't get the minutes in. And so he had to go. And United was like, you know what, we need to bring him back. And those stories are very, very nice. And I think it's a part of it. And, you know, what Paul Pogba said in the documentary was you could tell he loved United. He loved being there. He loved the Old Trafford crowd. And he spoke highly of that. Like he really, you know, the DNA of a United youth player, like for example, with the class of '92, a part of that was instilled in him. And so it was nice to see him come back. It just didn't work out as like we all thought it should be. Gee, you had something to say.
No, it's not called a documentary. It's called a Pogmentary.
My apology. And you're right.
And honestly, you like that's the thing. Like you are right. Like I want to get into this a little later because like as someone who's like into like videography and like filming and knowing some of the things that these videographers like were trying to do, it's a Pogmentary. This is not a documentary. Because if it was a documentary on someone,
so
we would actually see things the way you are. Because I want to say this too, like something that really annoyed me, and I'm sorry, like you can say rest in peace or whatever, but like Mino Raiola, like talking about like, oh, it wasn't about this and that, like it's well noted that like the reason why Ferguson got pissed off was because Mino was trying to force guaranteed playing time for Pogba into his contract, and United has never done that for anybody ever. Like they will never do that. And like they were just like, and it's actually interesting too because you heard the way Pogba described it was Mino called him and was like, "Okay, we're leaving," like as if Pogba actually didn't have any decision in the matter. And like that's actually a little concerning to me because it's more like, okay, so Mino was like, well, we're not gonna get like I'm not gonna be able to like it won't be a safe investment for me long term if we stay here at Manchester United because I know this guy's really talented, but if he doesn't get the playing time, then like I'm not going to get like the projected, income that I think I'm going to get off of him. Like, let's be real. Like Mino made $40 million off of that, like that deal back to United. Like that's all was planned out. Like whether or not it was to come back to United, it was all planned out that he would do really well at Uwe and either Uwe would keep him and Mino would get a kickback or they were going to send him somewhere for a massive fee, and Mino was going to get a portion of that transfer.
What he was doing. It always seemed like Mino was trying to build him up. And Pogba found the right person, the right mindset of trying to make this superstar that really maybe isn't a superstar. And he kept talking throughout this, like here and there, talking about his legacy, his name, his legacy after soccer, blah, blah, blah. And at the very end, he said like, this is just the beginning or something like that. Some like little snob, little French killer comment that like he's so into himself, but he had people around him to kind of just keep that kind of fire going. And Mino was a perfect guy for him.
Just real quick. So you said earlier, this is a Pugmentary. It's not a documentary. Documentaries deals with hard-hitting issues, uncomfortable questions, uncomfortable diving into issues.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we didn't see that. What we saw was the PR firm of Pogba or Mino Raiola or his attorney, who is also in this film.
Like what a random person.
Yeah, and like look, like
nothing to it.
And it's funny because like at one point in the documentary, his attorney said, look, if he wasn't married with kids, like I'll be there. I'll be living there, right? And so I want to introduce
right?
I want to introduce all the characters.
Second mom.
Second mom.
Yeah.
Let me introduce all the characters here. So we obviously got Paul Pogba. We have Mino Raiola. Rest in peace, Mino Raiola. I mean, the first episode is dedicated to him. Well, okay, some people don't like Mino Raiola, but I will say that there is an admirable job about him saying, I never signed a player to like a contract or whatever. He deals with me, That's it. So that's somewhat memorable, but look, we all know like he's pulling the strings. Then you got the lawyer, I forget her name, a lovely lady who's surrounded by
Rafaela.
Yeah, Rafaela.
Yeah, surrounded by memorabilia, including the Erling Haaland shirt. Which, by the way, you definitely what that tells me is that she's connected to Raiola somehow.
And Ibram too. The uniform was in the far back. She's got a couple high class players behind her.
Yeah, very, very nice.
It's a lot of Mino. It's a lot of Mino clients.
A lot of Mino clients.
Yeah.
And obviously we have Pogba's wife, Zule. So Zule,
gotta give it Bolivia.
So Zule, for those who don't know, like because like Pogba has kept his life pretty private. He's not like out and about, but then again, like the documentary is filmed during COVID. So he's not like out and about partying, and also he's married, right? So he has two young kids. Matt, you and I know what it's like to deal with two young kids. No one's clubbing in our house, right? But so we have Zule. We had the two kids who are adorable, by the way. Loved the birthday party. I was kind of jealous of all the macaroons. And the people dress up like giraffes, because you can't get giraffes. You need to have people dress up like giraffes and stilts so the kids can pet the fake giraffes.
And only one Man United player went there to celebrate.
It was Rafael Varane. I think definitely went, right?
No, was he not there?
No, it was somebody else.
Who was the white guy? What was his name?
Lindelof was there? Well, Lindelof was in the car with him.
There's like one or two, like only. I expected a little bit more than two or one.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Five, 10, the whole team, coach.
Yeah, no, definitely. Lingard was not there. Maguire wasn't there, right? So and then you have Paul Pogba's mom and his two brothers. I think mostly one, which is Florian. So those who may listen to the show who are into MLS, Florian played for Atlanta United for a little bit, so he has played here. Him and Mateus are twins, and they were born in Guinea, I believe, before, and then like they moved, and then Paul was actually born in France. And then
we'll talk about Florentine. Do you all see that big huge scar on his upper eyelid?
Well, and for all we know, he came from a rough neighborhood. I think Pug said that a couple of times. Yeah. And like I sort of, it's like it's one of the things that like the American soccer culture tries to like, say, fantasize or fetishize about the soccer player who's poor and has little, and then that's like become great. So I mean, it's a story here about how many people failed in the meantime. So Zule, he met Zule, his wife, his Bolivian wife, during a tour, the ICC tour, which is, for all you guys who hate the tours because, it takes away from like either them being at the club or it adds more travel to their schedule. You can meet spouses here. And Paul, it seems like he loves Miami. And loves the U.S. He wants to come back to the U.S. Do you have any opinions about Paul's love for South Beach?
I get it. It's beautiful there. But the only question is, how does his wife not understand or even watch soccer? Like, how do you not know this is Paul Pogba right in front of you? She's like, oh, I'm from Bolivia. I don't watch soccer. I don't like sports. But you're okay. I
can actually explain. So like, and Rob, like, I'm sure you can tell by the accent. So she was born. She's actually like from this actually small town. Like she says, she's from Santa Cruz, which is like the second biggest city in Bolivia. It's massive. She's not really from there. She's from like a small area, but she went to like college and school like in the U.S. Like you can tell she doesn't really have like an accent. It's not there.
In my notes, I tear her apart. She's not the typical Bolivian. She's a high class, private, private everything kind of person.
Yeah, you could tell she definitely comes from wealth. Was definitely I think she went to school at like USC or something. Like she's been around and like and definitely found her way to like get into money and like been in, not like, I'm not saying like gold digger, like she's found like ways to, like in marketing and stuff like that, but like she definitely isn't like your typical like, Bolivian, like even like something of like, oh, I was a model in Bolivia. Like she's not even that. Like if she was a model ever, it was in like the US. Like she's not, she's more American than Bolivian. Like you can just tell by the way she talks.
I loved as a household with two languages in here. I love just the English, the Spanish, and the French being tossed around randomly. Like one sentence, you would hear all three languages. And I don't know if you speak Italian in your household, but like, or if when you speak to your folks or any family, like you toss around the English and the Italian all mixed together.
I honestly felt bad for the kids though. They must be so confused. Like they're not at a point where they're like building language yet. So it's like you see these sentences and they're like it's like Minions. It's like they're half English, French, Spanish, like words. And they're like, okay. Like they're just like, you can just tell they're like frozen, like, okay, whatever dad says, like, I guess I'm going to do something. It's very interesting.
You throw Italian in there because he speaks Italian too. So like you just throw so much. Those kids are going to be IQ through the roof because obviously as we know more language that you're fluent in, the higher IQ. But shit, man, those kids are jackpot.
They're fantastic, and like they're adorable. I mean, one of them has a pacifier, a little bit older one, but look, Matt, you and I know we have to survive, right? I didn't want to give the kid the pacifier, but you know what? When he stops crying, I'm doing it, right? Got to do it. So the documentary mostly takes place between last summer, a year from now. Pretty much United just finished second in the table, and now pretty much the discussion is, and this is where Mina Raiola comes in a lot, is United going to re-sign him to a deal? And Paul gives the image that he wants to stay. He's like, I want to stay United. I like it here. Look, he has a nice home in general, right? He has a little mini pitch in there too. I kind of jealous. I kind of want that. I want like a little mini pitch with like the bars and everything. It's really nice in there.
Yeah, but did you? Okay, it's really nice, but the one thing it came off to me is how like self-centered it was. Like, who puts like illustrated drawings up of himself in his own workout room? Like, that's so douchey. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's like, look, like I understand like the need to work out and motivate yourself. I guarantee Michael Jordan isn't putting up pictures of himself like with doing fadeaways or like weird like. It's not even like him doing athletic stuff. It's like animated things of him looking like, I don't know, something from like a hentai comic. Like, he just doesn't. I don't know.
But did you notice he was not sweating in that scene? There was no. I took notes down.
Thank you.
I go, why is he not sweating? Like, this is just advertising BS to
the
sell
throw
him.
of the ball of him going, whoo. Yep. I'm like, if you did that like 20 times. Like, there's no way you're doing the frozen look every time.
Yeah.
That was a 3-time thing, and they're like, cool, got the shot. Next. Like,
and he goes down to the University of Miami, and he's working out, sweating.
Yeah.
I understand it's hot, but you can tell he's working out. He's doing all these little quick little sprints right in his little home. No sweat. Like, come on.
No. And the space in there, like, what sprints are you doing? They're like 10 steps. Like, it was so bad.
So I've seen The Room much earlier than a Pogmentary because he has featured it on Instagram plenty of times, and it's kind of neat to have. I wish I had the space for my kid. I think it'd be awesome. My kid would love it, right?
For the kids, it's awesome, but like for a workout space.
No, it definitely isn't. No, and I know during the pandemic, that's when I first saw it when he was basically doing stuff during the pandemic. He was like, I'm doing YouTube videos or whatever, Instagram lives or whatever. And it's kind of neat. So Matt, I want to ask you because you're the United supporter here, and I didn't know this because I don't follow United, I don't follow Pogba like that. But was there really a stigma on Pogba that when he was out hurt, that he was out gallivanting all over, like going on holiday, going on vacation? Was that like a thing that the fan base was saying?
No, I wouldn't say like gallivant. I mean, okay, it's hard because like our fan base, not to like brag or anything, but it is so like vast and wide. Like, I'm sure there are segments that were like thinking of that, right? Like, sorry, T, but like, but it was more the fact that like it was really interesting when he was saying those clips of like, well, like United didn't like check in on me or like offer their help, and it's like, bro, you separated yourself from the team for the rehab. Like, the ankle issue was so weird. Like, the amount of excuses like Solskjaer was giving him we were all like, what is going on? Like, does he have like some weird actual disease? Like, we really didn't know. Like again, Mike might give you like a complete different perspective, but just from a general fan base thing, where it all originated from, or like, the accusations or whatnot, it comes from like the confusion of like, what the hell's going on? And like, it wasn't a broken ankle, but he like needed a ton of time to get better. People were like, he's not happy with the team. He's just like, he just doesn't want to play for us anymore. There was just like a lot of mysteries going on. And like, then he had like that thing where he came back apparently too early and played in like a League Cup or like FA Cup game against like a, it was like a League One team or lower. And then he hurt his ankle again. So then it was like, well, what the heck, man? And then it was just, his timetable was, Solskjaer was just saying things like, we have no timetable for his return, but you weren't seeing any things like ligament tear, Achilles injury, like ankle, like surgery needed. It was just like all this. And he didn't want to, we don't know why, but he chose to have his own rehab. He didn't rehab with the United. So yeah, that's what, at least from the fans' perspective of what was going on.
All right. So let's just say Saka from Arsenal, right? He basically hurts his ACL or something. It's a strain or something. And then he goes to Dubai, like hanging out in Dubai, walking on the beach when he can walk, enjoying like, the nightlife a little bit over there, the beach, maybe a little jet ski or two. Are you upset as a fan? Are you upset that Saka is now in London, hanging out at the Emirates?
You're under contract. Yes. I believe that if you're working, you got hurt on the job, you should be at the facility with their people looking at their product. Again, the owners probably spent X amount of money in the future and advertising, blah, 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 for him. And it's kind of a kick in their face by now they're running away halfway around the world. Like, that's my money. I invest in you. I want you here. I need to see your progress with my people that I trust. I don't know who you're seeing down there in Dubai, but these are the people that I trust that I have on my payroll. So I believe, maybe it's old school, but he should be at the facility. Now, if he brings his people to the facility, cool. I'm okay with that because it's his people, but still it's under the watch of Man United or whatever team he's underneath. Again, it's a product. Owners buy, they're stocks. Buy low, sell high, and that's all it is. They're looking to make a profit. So if that's my investment, I want to make sure that my investment has all the eyes of my eyes that I want them to be looking at them. So I want Saka, whoever, I want them to be in London. Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, and I will say this, Rob. Like part of it was on Solskjaer too. Like, he was such a huge players coach. Like, for all we know, like, he could have been like, Paul probably came to him and was like, I think I just need to like get away, take a break, blah, blah. Like, and Solskjaer was like, you know what? Fine. Like, if that's going to get you to come back, go to Dubai, like, relax, get out of the spotlight, just be you. But like, at the same time, like, at the end of the day, like, I just don't see Arteta doing that, right? Like, Arteta would be like, you know what? You're going to be on the bench for the rest of the season. Like, just wouldn't care. So I don't know. And you would never see Bayern ever do that. Bayern's like, we will inject you with like
placenta, whatever.
Essence of horse, whatever, like in your knee, and heal you with bionic science before you even think about going to Dubai on your own.
Yeah. So all right. So I really, to me, like, a hurt player is like a hurt player. Like, they're really not contributing much and they're around. But so I understand Pogba's line of thinking. I get it. And so, like, before the Pogmentary, I generally liked Paul Pogba. I mean, he didn't play for my teams. He didn't play for my country. I enjoyed the way he played when healthy, of course, right? And I definitely liked to see him perform. I thought he had the skill set, he has the physical attributes to be a star in the midfield. And so when he didn't do well at United, and when the whole thing with Jose came up, which he actually brought up, by the way, which is interesting. I actually wanted to see more. And this is why it's a Pogmentary, because it was a documentary. I would have dug a little bit deeper into the whole thing with Jose, because it seemed like when Jose got there and then he left, a little bit of Paul Pogba died. And it might not have been like it might have been his fault, because you're an athlete, you need to quote unquote get over it. But he said he was depressed. He it affected him deeply, and it seems like it took him a lot to figure it out. I will say
kind of the overall theme is woe is me. Someone else affected me, and I'm going to pull myself through the ashes because I'm going to fight for myself, and I can only concentrate on myself. It was like, oh, woe is me. Everyone help me out. Like, it felt like it was like a sob story. Like, everyone's against me, and I'm the bad guy. It's like, seriously? So,
like, Rob, I'll say this too. Like, honestly, before this year, and like just everything United has just like crippled me and like made me, you know, just super depressed. But like up until this year, like, yeah, I was like, I do generally like Pogba. Like my Wi-Fi was named after him. Like I love, you know, write it down, G. Like it's like I really liked him, and like I know that he isn't the player that, like, with all that of him, like I know that he's not who he thinks he is, but I really do enjoy him because when you break soccer down to like the beautiful game levels and Joga Bonito levels, like he does have that essence, like that kid in like a, you know, just on like a playground field, right? And that's the stuff we love. We love seeing that. But like this whole thing of like like Pogmentary is actually, it's designed to make you like him or give him either like this perspective. It actually makes me hate him more. Like I hate him. Like not hate. Hate's the wrong word. But like it's I want to vomit. Like everything is just so like PR'd and planned out, and it's so obvious. Like the scene of him going up to homeless people and giving them food.
Yeah.
Okay, from a filmmaker's perspective, like you have to get lighted. Like it has to be all planned out. Like that is all planned out. So like from an insider, like just knowing that, it's like you pull these people aside. First of all, second of all, too, like to actually get their face, like they have to sign a waiver. Like that's law. So like they talk to these people already. Like this is all staged. Every single bit of it. Like the one where he goes up to that upper level and like the camera's moving, like, oh, we caught him, like behind the scenes. The lighting is like, oh, perfect silhouette of Pogba. We can see him perfectly. To get night shots that well lit is a lot of effort. It's very hard work, and it has to be planned out. So like to make it look like it's this nonchalant thing is just, I don't know. I just really don't.
I really wish that like instead of that, it was like Paul Pogba in the soup kitchen or something. I think that would have been better.
That would have been fine.
Or whatever Rashford was doing, just hop on that, right?
Yeah.
If you went to meet up with Rashford and be like, hey, you know what? Let me help you out. What can we do, right? And like that's fine. We only have about 3 more minutes left, but so I want to cover a little bit about his time in France, because when he talked about like, you know, winning the World Cup and how that was special to him, and it really was great. I mean, he scored in the World Cup final, like, right? And it's interesting to me that a lot of times when Paul Pogba is on France, he doesn't have the colorful hair, he doesn't have the flashy.
Great point.
It's very strict to like it's almost like business, but at the same time, you can tell like it's like going out and hanging out with friends. It's like club is like I'm business, I'm here, I'm working. But when he's playing for France, you can tell like it's a different attitude. Like he's played with these people many years.
Exactly. He said that all throughout. These are guys who I came up through the ranks with, that I came from the same neighborhoods. Like we grew up. Like it is their homeboys. That's their family. So yeah, I can see him taking that a little bit more chill. I'm with my homeboys compared to my business on Man U, my business at Juve.
When after the Euros, after they got eliminated by Switzerland in the Euros, which was kind of nice. Pogba, like it showed him giving the locker room talk in the World Cup finals. Yeah. And then also it showed a little bit of leadership that he's like, look, like I'm taking the first penalty. Let's go. Mm-hmm. And it was a massive penalty. Top left, top bins, perfect penalty. And we forget Mbappe is the one that blew it, right?
No, the goalie made a great save.
It was a bad penalty. Let's be honest. But so after the Euros, he goes to Miami. Zule, his wife, is already there. They're hanging out.
You made a good point. Now, did you hear earlier she said, hey, why isn't he here yet in Miami? Like, she expected him to go to Miami like a week earlier than he came with. Like, she said that, and I watched that twice, and the second time I caught it even again. Like, they expected him to be in Miami a lot earlier than what she wanted.
And then, like, when he finally got to Miami, you know, they had a nanny, by the way. I saw the nanny background, which is fine. You know, it is what it is. You gotta
have to have it. Yeah,
gotta have it. He meets up with Matuidi, who is in Inter Miami at this point, who is an awful player, by the way, for Inter Miami. I mean, he won the World Cup, I get it, but when he came to Inter, it was awful. But it was nice seeing them together. Like, you know, like, and Paul Pogba was like, oh man, I have a familiar face here on vacation. He talked about coming back to the U.S. He likes the U.S. I don't think he'll ever play in the U.S., but I think he will like to live here one day. So, all right, so we got a minute left, right? Because, you know, Zoom has not sponsored us yet. But Matt, give me your final thoughts on this Pogmentary.
It's terrible. Like, again, like, I love that we're watching it because it's like kind of the opposite of like a rewatchables. It's like, you know, painful. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to keep talking about it more, like, you know, come back and talk about it again. Again, I think it's done the opposite of what it's intended to do. At least for me, it's made me hate them even more.
And G, your final thoughts.
Yeah, same thing. It's like, dude, you're more of a douchebag than I thought you were originally. I don't know if I could say that or not, but like, it just solidified. Yeah, I don't like you anymore. But my challenge for you guys is Simeone has a one on Amazon Prime. And so far, it's pretty damn good. So that might be our next thing we talk about. But
yeah, let's do it.
Good one, man.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of Simeone. But just real quick, so this Pogmentary had a chance to do something. It was a PR stunt. Before I give my thoughts on the Pogmentary, just a administrative note or editor's note. We got cut off because we're too busy talking about the disaster that Pogmentary was. But so we missed the tail end of it. But my opinion on this Pogmentary was that it was a lost opportunity for people to get to know Pogba more on a deeper level, that wasn't filtered through PR, agents, lawyers. There was an opportunity for some deep dives into his decision making, pretty much why he left United, Juventus, kind of like his childhood stuff growing up. It's simply, like, look, the animations in the beginning and actually throughout the whole Pogmentary, you know, was trying to be Sony's Enter the Spider-Verse. And, you know, we didn't need all that. Like, give me Pogba in a chair answering questions, and I want to see a teardrop every once in a while. Like, that's what I want. That's a documentary. A documentary is not supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to be telling the tale, the whole story of someone or the subject, and this wasn't it. So this is a PR film. This reminds me of the Neymar documentary a little bit of the Ronaldo documentary. This is what these are, and you know, now there's a bunch of streaming services out there who are looking for content. And just because you're looking for content doesn't mean you're going to get good content. And unfortunately, this Pogmentary is not a documentary. I mean, look, watch it because you'll get to know him a little bit better. But that's really to understand that this is not the whole story of Paul Pogba. There's a lot more. And look, he's still young. He's only like 29 or something. There's still a lot more. Not more of his career to go through. So this is not over. I think, you know, it's kind of weird him giving out a video or funding a video for a person whose career, not even life, but career is not even, you know, over yet. He still has a lot left in the tank. But you know, look, that's my opinion, and people can love it or hate it. But I will tell you though, you know, G, and I think Matt too, you brought up a good point, you know, as far as what the next project of our popcorn series is here. Diego Simeone, Cholo, you know, Atletico Madrid, Argentina, did some stuff in Sevilla. he made David Beckham get a red card. That's definitely going to be featured in the Simeone documentary, which is on Amazon Prime as well. I think this is a candidate. We have to talk about Simeone. When we talk about it, folks, for next time, we shall see, because, the football calendar is approaching. But, before we end the show, G, what do you want to see from this? What do you hope to see from the Simeone documentary?
You know what, and even go back to the Paul Pogba, I always like to see behind the scenes. I like to see who they are, not as an athlete, but as a person. And we kind of saw that with Paul. Maybe it's not who we would want, kind of hang out with or get a beer with, but we saw who he was. So, but with Cholo, like the same thing. I like to see, behind the scenes, how does his soccer brain work? His family life, how's that structure? Like with Paul, and like how we talked about a little bit, we don't really know that much about his private life. Same thing with Simeone. What's his private life about? So it kind of get to know about the person. He's had a huge legacy as a player, like you said, in Argentina, and especially as a coach. And I can only expect. His coaching style is very similar to mine, that I jump up and down and scream, and I cry when my team loses. I cheer when my team wins. Their heartbreak is my heartbreak, so forth and so on. So I see him. So I want to see more of that and kind of just see his brain, his soccer brain. You can just tell he loves this sport too. To see another person like that and a very top tier kind of guy to hear what he says about soccer and to listen, it really helps me out as a coach and as a player as well. So so when I watch these kind of documentaries, it does help me out overall as a soccer enthusiast, fanatic, whatever you want to call it. So as a coach, and maybe Matt can maybe get a pointer or two from him, but like watching these things does help us out in the long run in our personal lives. So looking forward to kind of see who he is on all aspects of his life.
And Matt, you're, I don't know, how much you follow Simeone. I don't know if you love or hate him. Look, plenty of people hate him, right? But do you think if you watch a documentary, you might develop a little bit more of a love for Simeone in the way he does things?
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I love him. I hate to admit it, but I do. I know what Atletico do, but it's like, that's how they're successful, man. They know what they have to do. It's like, if you're a fan of boxing, it's Mickey Ward, man. You're taking the punches and then, you're looking for a way to get a stomach knockout or something like that. It's not going to be pretty, you're going to have bruises all over your face, but you're going to still get that money at the end of the day because you're going to win. What Simeone has done tactically, especially organizing a defense, is unbelievable. It's like what I showed my kids, when I was the kids that I was coaching. He has the best organizational structure of defense that you will find, period. There's nothing better than it. In terms of basic 4-4-2 formations and how you want kids to understand responsibility, and every single person from the center back to the center forward of committing to defense, he does it. So I love Simeone. I do also know that he's a bit of a prick. And there's that side of him, but I'm interested to see that perspective, because you know what, there's always two sides to the story, and I would love to know where he's coming from. He's probably a prick because growing up, he was picked on or bullied or whatever, and he knew he had to be the asshole, or he could have just been an asshole the entire time. I don't care. I kind of want to know what I want to know his perspective and his ways of thoughts, or hearing him speak, because then you started to get an understanding of why he sets up his teams the way he does. And that's really interesting for me. And I'm sure he'll even say in it why he dresses in black all the time, because I would love to know. But yeah, he's a badass. He's really awesome. I really respect for what he does in terms of the defensive side of the game. And yeah, I can't wait to review it with you guys. It'll be awesome.
Yeah. No, I definitely want to know who dresses him every day. I mean, for all we know, his wife could dress him. He's look, Cholo, you look better in black. Just stick with black. And you're okay.
Black tie.
He's okay, you know what?
Black on black.
That's okay. I do the coaching, you do the dressing.
He just misinterpreted, once you go black, you can never go back. He just didn't understand what it meant.
Pretty much. All right, so for this has been the inaugural episode of the Two Mini Guys Soccer Show at the movies. So we covered the Pogmentary, and the next series will be the Diego Simeone documentary. So for Coach Matt, Coach G Cisco, this is Byron Robert Ebert, wishing you a good evening, a good night, and we'll catch you next time. Have a good one.